Contestants. In 2017, I believe it was, Dr. Dilip Abasakar helped us start a group called Competitive Speakers. And it was the gist of that particular group to bring together the members of District 24 to help them be more competitive. Because we didn't have people that were actually progressing through the quarterfinals to the semifinals. And it was like, how do we become more competitive? He got us started, and we spent about 2 years, 3 years, up until almost the pandemic, I think, 3 years of trying to put together information. And it got down to that we only had a few people actually interested in what we were saying. And this is part of what we're going to go over at this point. One of the things about contestants is that structural integrity. Randy, what is structural integrity? What is that three things that you need to have in your contest speech that really bring it home?
Well, you need to have a theme. Generally, what is the area of interest that you're talking about? And then you need to understand how all good speeches are constructed. And it goes back to that plain old simple formula, which we talked about earlier. You have to have an opening, you have to have a body, and you have to have a conclusion. Real difficult stuff, right? Well, within that structure, you want an opening that immediately introduces or refers to your theme and that catches the attention of the audience, asking a provocative question or telling a short but very interesting story can be a way to grab the attention of the audience. And this kind of sets up the theme and the main topic that you're talking about. As a matter of fact, you want to establish these sort of things before you get anywhere near to giving a title to your speech, because how well you develop those themes and the supporting material will be a great instructive uh, bit of information for your title. I know I've been in the trap for many years where I would come up with a fantastic title and write a speech, and somehow it didn't all work out. Well, then you work to the body, and the thing about it is the whole point of the body is to provide probably best up to three main points. One or two is not enough. Four or more is way too many to cover in a 5 to 7 minute speech, particularly for the international speech contest. So you want to have three main points that you are trying to propose, and with supportive material that will support the theme and the main idea that you're trying to put together. And those points have to come with supportive evidence, either evidence from your own experience, evidence from your own research, evidence from stories, that things that happen to you. And actually, the best stories are your own personal stories, because that's the way you can really put yourself into the explanation. But you want to have those three main points that support those three supportive points that support your overall theme and topic. And then you want to have a conclusion which puts it all together, restates, refers back to the theme, wraps it all up into a nice package, which preferably has some sort of call to action or some big takeaway that the audience should have from your speech. When you put those things together, you've constructed a package that lives on its own and should get people wanting to stand up and march for the cause, whatever it is you're talking about. That way you can be successful. I've heard so many speakers who depend upon performance, you know, uh, gesturing, striding across the stage, making a pose, things like that. So I love speakers with a nice booming baritone voice, but what good is it if that baritone voice doesn't really say anything? Those are sorts of things can be added and will enhance the speech, but they can't be the whole speech itself. It has to have those structural elements that I've talked about that put a package together that are will really make people stand up and want to march ahead for whatever the cause is. And when you do that, you've got a winner. And I have to say, I have judged at all levels of Toastmasters International, including the International Speech Contest, and I have seen contests, some that I was involved in, some that I was not involved in, where you know the speakers had all of those extraneous elements, the wonderful appearance, the great voice, the stride across the stage, and all those sort of things, and another speaker who had the dynamite theme, the great opening, the super supportive material, well supported, and a conclusion that really was a knockout to me, didn't win. And that's such a shame because I think those people should be the ones who win more often. So if you go for that, man, you may not always win, but you're always going to be in the game. Keith?
Thank you very much, Randy. It's exactly what I was looking for. Does anybody else on the panel have a comment about structure, integrity within your speech? Mark, should I memorize my speech?
Memorize it? I would say no, you have to know it. If you memorize it, it's going to sound artificial when you get up there and start talking about it. You do have to know the beginning, the body, the end, but it's more important to know what you're talking about so that you don't get partway through and suddenly, I don't remember what came next. Know the speech, know the points you want to make, know your audience a little bit, whether you're in a contest or not.
We've got a hand raised out there. We'll take questions. Gary, you got a question?
And one of the speakers wants your feedback. What do you tell them?
Well, if you're a judge, Christine,
Yeah.
can you give, as a judge, can you give feedback to a contestant?
No, you may not. You may refer them to somebody else who would be eligible to give them information as a feedback. You are not allowed as a judge to give feedback directly to a contestant. Unfortunately.
And why is that? Why is that? Because we want to preserve the integrity of the judging process. We don't want a judge to be compromised. We don't want a speaker to be compromised by trying to get in on the inside of the judging process. The best thing that you can do is if you want feedback on your speech, ask somebody that you trust, preferably somebody, if it is not always possible to work that out, but preferably somebody who hasn't really heard your speaking before, or who maybe have heard at an earlier stage of your speech and can make comparisons at the point you are. To ask them to give you the feedback. I know as a speech contestant myself, I was always, driven to frustration because how in the world could those judges come up with that decision? Didn't they see those other speakers? Well, wasn't it obvious that I was the best one there? Well, no, it obviously wasn't. So, but I had to ask other people, not the judges.
Just to tag on to what Randy said, every contest speech is potentially a pathway speech. So you want to get good feedback, have somebody come and do an evaluation of you, not judging, but evaluating. But perhaps ask them to emphasize what I do that fits the criteria of the contest. The other thing you can do is you can video your own speech at a contest. You know, we had contestants in the past in District 24 who would be up there, even though we were recording it for submission, they had a camera right next to ours so that they could watch what they did.
Now they could only do their own mark. They couldn't video anybody other contestants, though.
That is correct.
There's a kind of, to be honest with you, there's kind of a silly rule in the rule book, in my opinion. And that is where they say that the judges remain anonymous. Now, maybe at the international speech contest where you have thousands of people in an audience, it's possible for judges to remain anonymous. But when you get down to the area, division, district levels like that, where your room is not all that small, it's almost like you want to have the Toastmasters say, pay no attention to those people holding up their ballots that are being collected. It's kind of silly, but nevertheless, I understand the reason why that rule was put in place, but it's simply, in most cases, not a very practical rule.
One
Okay.
good example.
Hang on a second, guys. Melinda's got her hand up. Melinda, do you have a question?
Yes, Keith, I do. Traditionally, in District 24, when we have the international contest involved in a contest, the order of the contest divisions is, for instance, this year, table topics. No, I'm sorry, tall tales, international. So is there any hard and fast rule that the international contest has to be second in order over the other one?
No, it has been tradition, but there is nothing in the rule book that sets the order of the contests that are being held. So
It has to
therefore,
be
you could
included.
do,
It has to be included
Has
as
to be
part of
included.
the contest at the district level, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the first one on the agenda.
right. And Randy and I
who,
both read the rule book.
and who makes
Yeah.
that decision as to which one would go first?
The
Contest
Contest organizers.
Okay. All right. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
You can do it however you'd like to do it. It's there is no hard and fast rule that doesn't say you have to do it. You do have to have it in the contest. Now, at the district contest, we have in the past separated, when we've had more than one contest, we've separated the contest for like tall tales on like a Friday evening and done international on Saturday, as long as it's held at the district conference. Normally, you get the division contest, you have both of them at the same time, which I believe is what's happening with the ones that we have scheduled. Floy has her hand up. This should be interesting.
Yeah.
Floy, what's your question?
I have a question. If we change the order, or if they decide to change the order at any time along the way, say at district level, we change the order of the contest, should we not also change the area and the division to reflect what's happening at district? Because so often, though, what we do at area and division is not what happens at district. And district should be what happens at international, or when you go to international, so that they learn, would know what's coming.
But at international, you only have the international contest. They don't do table topics and tall tales and the other contests at international. So I don't think it matters.
And I honestly, I don't really think that matters within a district at the lower level contest area and division, which order that you put them in. The reason I think there is, from a showmanship perspective, I think there's a reason why you would want to have the lesser contest, which is tall tales or evaluation or something like that, usually first, and then go to the main part of the show, which is the international speech contest. I mean, that's really what most people are most interested in. But
Build up.
That's build up, a showmanship type of thing, not a requirement.
The other question I have following along with that same thing is, I noticed that in our district, we do not always treat the area and the division as if it were following the same format as what we would do at district or international. Should we help our area directors understand the same format so that we have the format the same? We're not, area, for instance, we'll put all of them together and we just kind of wing it and make it lackadaisical and unrehearsed or whatever. And then you get to district, you've got the strict rules that they have to do in order to video that to send it forward. So should we not start down at the area doing some of that same requirements?
When you say format, what are you talking about?
Okay, for instance, down at the area, whenever we do the international speech contest, we may or we may not go follow the script like it says that you were talking about earlier, we should follow the script. We may wing it somewhat, in introducing people, interviews and what have you. And then when they get to district, we don't do that. We're set.
You should start at the club level to introduce them as the speaker, the title of the speech, the title of the speech, the speaker. No other information, no, when you do an introduction of a speaker. Is that what you're
I don't
looking
think
for,
that's what-
Floyd?
That's
Yeah,
not
we
what
should
you said.
structure it the same. We don't always, I've noticed that we don't always do that. And maybe I think
We
it's
need
probably
to.
we're not teaching, we're probably not teaching our area directors
Mhm.
how to do that.
That's in the rule book.
You know, within each contest itself, those general rules that are in the rule book should be followed for each
Okay, when
contest.
you
I
were an
think
area director, when you were a brand new area governor, did you sit down and read everything in that rule book to make sure you understood it before you
Did.
read it?
We
I
had,
did.
we had,
I
Or
did,
check with
yeah.
people
As a
nowadays to see
matter
if
of
they do
fact.
that.
Okay.
And
At
never
this
mind,
point,
that's
we're going
enough.
to go.
I give up.
Thank you, Floyd. One of the things that is happening here, we've got a discussion that normally we go into as far as dynamic speakers. We have a tendency to do that. And yes, there's all sorts of protocol and stuff. District 24 has the scripts for all the contests at their public downloads. We would suggest you go to the public downloads, pull up the speech contests, and download the scripts for this contests. Rebecca mentioned that we have a script that we would prefer people to use at the area, the division, and the district levels, so that the contests are not a wing it type thing, so that they don't know what's going on and we don't get out of practice. One of the things that we've started this year for District 24, we actually had an online contest in the fall, which we had not had contests for quite some time in the fall. And we understand that those are something that we hope that 209 carries forward and has a fall contest. It's a great place to practice contests when we go forward into the spring. One of the things we did when we had fall conferences was it was a great place to practice putting on a conference so that by the time we get to the spring, we had educated, trained people how to put all of these things together. And that's one of the things that we hope will go forward with the new district. One of the other things that we need to cover here as far as contestants is concerned, I think we've talked about consensus and focus, purpose and call to action. I think one of the things is confidence and continuous feedback. Christine, do you have some information on confidence and continuous feedback?
I do. You asked the group introvert for this information. I have learned so much in Toastmasters, guys. Seriously, I am the introvert that's always wanted to be in the wall. I have learned that with practice, with evaluation, and with connection, that I can pull myself forward and expand my comfort zone. That's the same thing I see happen when I watch contestants pull their speeches together and get up on that stage. Wow, if you've ever been to an international conference and sat through the international speech competitions, it's amazing. I feel like there's no way I could do anything near that much. And then I step back and look and see, what have I done since I joined Toastmasters in 2012? I've learned to serve my club. I was president. I've been VPE. I've done a lot of the other roles. Of course, all of the speech, the meeting roles. I've even served as an area governor. Yes, I was one of the last before titles changed. I thought, oh, I can't go outside my club and do anything. Guess what? When you're doing the speeches, when you're doing the events, you find out that you have more in you that you can get through and just kind of get through those little moments of feeling like your panic attack is going to stop you from doing things. Guess what? When you get up there, you'll find out you have something worth saying, and we have something worth hearing from you. So I suggest you connect. I suggest you use evaluations with your peers to gain more confidence and get that feedback and work yourself forward and be a competitor. Step out and be active. Mr. Toastmaster, Keith.
Thank you very much for that. I guess at this point, let's open this up to all sorts of questions. Let me get out of this particular thing. What questions do you have of anything that we've presented this evening? Michael.
I don't have a question. I do have a comment. I want to piggyback on a point that was brought up just a little bit ago. Yeah, clubs and club contests are the best way to iron out how a contest should be. Because not only are we trying to make it perfect, or not only are we trying to make it good, not only are we trying to serve the people in our club, but we're there to learn as well. And if something goes awry, somebody squirrels off, you will know how to handle that. So that way, at the area contest and the division contest, you've already had that experience. You've already dealt with this situation. We'll see you go through it very smoothly. That's something that I do believe was missed in that last conversation about that. Because let's face it, we're all human. We are. Sorry. I'm not a perfect alien from Mars. Oh, by the way, here is my morale director. And he's really good
Very
at
good.
bringing morale. So go back over there, Sir Fred.
Thank you, Michael.
Very much. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is you make a mistake at club level, forgive yourself. You have a whole club behind you saying, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, you did this. Remember for the next time. That's all there is to it. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you very
That's all
much.
part of the practice and
Thank you.
evaluation.
Randy.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on something that Michael just said. And that is, you want to do the thing at the club so that by the time you get up to the higher levels of contest, you're doing it well. Just one other point I want to make. One of the most difficult things about putting on a contest is finding enough of a experienced, skilled people can do the job well. But more than anything else, you do not want to put a Toastmaster in at a district level contest who's never even seen a speech contest before. It's happened. It's happened in our District 24. You don't want a chief judge that's never judged a contest before. Now, maybe they haven't been a chief judge before, but you don't want one who has never judged before. Now, you can have brand new judges at some of the lower levels who have not judged before, and this is a way that they can gain experience. What you want to make sure is as much as possible that those people are trained in those roles, and we've already talked about the training for it. But it's real important for those key roles like the Toastmaster, the chief judge, and the people like that, that they need to be people who have at least been around the ballpark at least once, before you put them in at that level. Because you don't
Yep.
realize how important it is to have an experienced people until you actually get to that level.
And
Keith,
one of those people
again,
might be a timer.
again, this is another opportunity to stress the fact of mentoring somebody else that can fill this role in the future, job shadowing, and let somebody else get the experience by walking alongside somebody that's done it before.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Any other questions before I turn it back to Wanda? Questions? Yes, Mark?
Just a comment more than a question. When I joined Toastmasters, and you all heard that was in 2009, I kind of knew there was something outside of River City Speakers because I got these magazines about once a month in the mail, and I got a bunch of manuals. But it wasn't until somebody introduced, and it may have been Randy, it may have been somebody else, introduced the idea of contests, and we had an area direct governor at the time show up, that I started to get the idea that there was something beyond the club. For a lot of people in Toastmasters, I think the first thing they do outside of their club to mesh with the larger organization is to go to a contest or participate in a contest. One of the things we lost with the loss of the fall contests and conference was that opportunity to start making connections outside of your home club. contests can do that for you. Whether you're speaking, whether you're one of those anonymous people. I was in a group of anonymous people from the Omaha area that went out to Grand Island for a contest. It was very obvious who the judges were. They were all these foreigners. But
All right.
get outside your club.
Thank you, Mark. With that, I'll bring Wanda back in here and turn everything over to you, Wanda. Thank you very much for letting us do this.
Oh, well, Keith and company, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. So much seasoned toast, it goes beyond being seasoned Toastmasters. They just have a way with bringing all this information so naturally. Couple quick things. If you are in your club and you would like to be a contestant, please look into how you can be a contestant. Talk with your clubs. You have at the club level until February 7th to say that you would, want to compete, and then let your area director know, just to give a little bit of information on that. And yes, it's Tall Tales, and we are allowing more contestants on the Tall Tale side and versus the international side. Those details can be learned. Again, reach out to your area director what that means. And please just, compete. You'll be surprised. If you haven't done it before, you will, I bet you will enjoy it more than you thought you ever would. So thank you again, and we will call it a night. So thank you for everyone who attended the engagement and our visitors from other districts.